Welcome, everyone. We are live. It's always great getting multiple people on at the same time. It looks like everybody has made it here for the first hour. I am Stephen David Elliot. I am the creator and founder of Rockstar Connect. And I am the facilitator and mediator of today's panel for Three-Martini Lunch. This is, Sarah, what number Three-Martini Lunch is this? We've been doing these a long time now, about 3 months.
11 or 12.
This is number 12. I remember that was number 11. And Rockstar Connect has hosted, since the COVID-19 shutdown, we've hosted hundreds of virtual events around the country, but this is our big Three-Martini Lunch. For those of you who've never been before, Three-Martini Lunch is what they used to do in the 50s, 60s, and even the 70s. Where people of privilege that had an expense account would meet for lunch, or they would play golf, and they would, on the company's bill, they would have a couple cocktails and network with one another and create business while really being three sheets to the wind. Who on this call is old enough to remember Three-Martini Lunches, or maybe they never went to one, but they wanted to go to one and they were too young to go to one, or maybe at that time they were excluded because of their sex or their race or their religion. Well, we have a Three-Martini Lunches open to anyone in the country. Most of the people that go to this event are people that are solo entrepreneurs, people that own small companies. Also, we get some people that come from big companies as well, and we all get to interact with one another. Now, Rockstar Connect is famous for their live networking events. We do them all over the country. We're very excited because we actually have some events starting this month live in some states, and even more coming up in July, although they will be modified in some form and fashion to make them much safer. But in the interim, we have Three-Martini Lunch, which has become so popular. We're going to continue doing it even after we start doing live events again. Now, we try to give you as close to an experience of going to a networking event by participating in this event. Now, we are broadcasting Three-Martini Lunch to 250 Facebook groups that belong to Rockstar Connect around the country. So thousands of people are watching. I just want to make all the panelists extremely nervous. Thousands of people are watching this live as it is occurring. We also have some attendees, a limited amount of attendees that are in the chat room. They're going to be putting up questions. They're also going to drop information about themselves there. And we also have the Hio Lounge. So if any of you are out there listening to the broadcast through Facebook, you can go to the Rockstar Connect website and join this event right now and go into the Hio Virtual Lounge, which gives you an experience similar going to a networking event where you can do one-on-one, face-to-face video networking with individuals. It's done in I would say, speed networking sort of fashion. You can share all your information, etc. We're going to jump right into this because we have a lot of really good panelists, people that are new to us as well. And for the panelists that are new to us, the structure we use for this particular networking event is the success is contagious structure. And in the success is contagious structure, what we are doing is we are sharing a little bit about ourselves, but in reality, people care less about what you do until they actually need that service. They care more about who you are. And when they discover who you are and what your integrity is and what your enthusiasm is, and whether they just like you, whether they made that meaningful connection, they will choose to do business with you. And in fact, many people on this panel have been doing business with one another as well as with people that are watching the event live. So we're going to start off sharing a little bit about ourselves. And then because it's success is contagious, so people know about you and your character, you're going to share your success or win for the week. And that success can be family oriented, that can be business oriented. It could even just be that you showed up here today to network and to share your wisdom. I'm going to actually start off with a new panelist, and Stephen Hand. He's very familiar with this structure because I started doing Successes Contagious events as a physical live event back in 2008, and he was a pretty regular attendee to those events. So does it feel a little nostalgic for you, Steve?
Yeah, it certainly does. It's good to see you again.
Good to see you. If you could tell us, briefly what you do,
okay,
and then go right into what your successes have been for this week.
Okay, great. Well, the what we're all about is helping companies grow by word of mouth, and that's really our main focus. It's a company called BNI, Business Network International, almost 80 countries. Used to be 80, but suddenly we stopped doing Russia for some reason. I don't know why, but just stopped doing Russia. So 79 countries at this point, and I'm responsible for half of North Carolina. I think everything east of Chapel Hill essentially is my area. So. We've got about 700 members. In 2019, they shared over $22.5 million in business. So it's pretty successful for people. Helped a property manager go from 0 properties to, I think, 1,600 in less than 6 years. We helped a realtor do 160 transactions in 2016. So we really drive a lot of business for people by building systems. So my big success for this week hasn't yet happened, but my daughter lives in Philadelphia. She's in the hospitality business, so she's been shut down, but they're in Cary. She's actually come down here. She's going to be here for a month, and I think tomorrow night we'll actually be seeing her. So that's kind of my big success at the moment. So I'm very psyched about that. So
that's fantastic, and it's been a while since you've seen them, so that's a great thing.
Yes, quite
a lot of people are having that success where they're starting to see family, friends, and also business associates.
Mm-hmm.
People have been coming out to our house where we've set up a little area that's social distanced and we can have meetings face to face because sometimes you just need to talk first. That sort of brings me to one of our successes. We now have a national sponsor for Three-Martini lunch. They're going to be on next week talking a little bit about their business. They're going to be involved in our promotions. The name of the company is Referral Book. And it is a system not too dissimilar from BNI that enables you to pass referrals to other people and create those circles and monitor them as well. Nice. So check out Referral Book. Sarah will drop that in. By the way, you'll keep on hearing me mention Sarah. Sarah is my wife and also a creator and founder of Rockstar Connect. And she is in charge of our operations. She's vice president of operations, and she makes everything magic happen in Rockstar Connect events all around the country. I'd like to welcome another new panelist today, Teddy Burriss. We had a little conversation last week. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what your great successes have been.
So, one success, very simplistic but real and important, is I showed up here, and I appreciate the conversation with Stephen and Sarah and meeting a bunch of folks to get that idea going and to participate. A little bit about me: I'm a LinkedIn strategist, and what that means is I help business professionals figure out how to use LinkedIn as a business tool. Been doing this full time since 2009. Do a lot of work with corporations, a lot of work with medium-sized organizations, and a ton of one-on-one coaching. And I love to do it. I love to help people figure it out. A real success for me is that I was charged with designing, drafting it out, building the BOM, bill of materials, and putting together all the resources needed to help my daughter build a she shed annex that we will be executing the build this weekend. So wish me luck that I don't nail my hands to anything, and then that we can successfully christen a she shed annex this weekend.
That's a tough word to say. That's a tongue twister.
I had to play that.
I'd like to welcome Leslie Flowers. Leslie, if you could share a little bit about yourself and the successes that you've had this week.
I'll be happy to. Thank you for inviting me again, Stephen. Gosh, you know, a few months ago, I started right on the cusp of the pandemic, since I'm a nanopreneur and I work part-time out of my home, it occurred to me that there would be a way for people to be sharing what they did live in groups. And I happen to have 2 groups, and I started this, like I said, on the cusp, not realizing what was going to happen. So 13 weeks ago, 17 global thought leaders, women, began teaching every week, same day, same time, live, their content for complimentary inside the group. The goal is to, by July 1st, have that training course up on YouTube to expand their messages. The celebration this week is that this is week 13, and all 17 thought leaders, women, completed their goal, and they all have video training content to put up on YouTube. It is significant to get 17 of anybody to do something, particularly women, as we tend to be generally more distracted in business than, and that's what women are learning, than men are. At the same time, maybe a few days later, in Raleigh Business Networking, a group of 4,200 local business owners, I began to open that up 5 weeks ago for 20-minute promo spots for the know, like, and trust factor, because no one really knew anybody. So my win is using my talent for bringing large groups of people together to achieve their goals while I sit back at my beautiful home office, drink my water, and I'm here anyway, and watching everybody grow into their greatness, move them out of the nest, and we start all over again the first week of July. So I'm really excited about it. You can't be depressed or unhappy while you're learning. It's not possible.
Well, that's for sure. And it feels like there are a lot of successes going on.
Yes.
Our ilk, our milieu, these people that every day have to write their own check. That we're sort of used to, having to deal with unusual situations. And of course, this could be very devastating, and certainly it's not easy. It's something hard to do. But I mean, we're used to people competing with us, and we're used to people sometimes stepping in our space and possibly taking our clientele, or at least we perceive that, or we don't feel that we're necessarily getting everything that we deserve because of the work that we put in. But if you're still standing right now, you're getting everything you deserve, because this is a challenge, and everyone is rising to the challenge. I'd like to speak to Barbara Hemphill. Barbara, if you could tell everyone a little, we met before in a panel, you could tell us a little bit about yourself and share a little bit about your successes this week.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here again. I'll see familiar faces and meet some new ones. My passion for over 43 years as an entrepreneur has been to help people eliminate the physical, digital, and spiritual clutter that prevents them from accomplishing their work and enjoy their lives. And it's more than that, I like to help other people do that as well. And so we have our certification program, and we had a wonderful win yesterday. There was a client that I had 4 years ago. He was a retired civil engineer from GE and had decided he wanted to flip houses. Well, anybody who's done that knows that that generates a lot of paper. And he wasn't particularly technology savvy either. So he really, really wanted the paper. So we organized this office. We were there for our 1 day, what we call total office transformation. We put everything in place that he needed in order to make the office work. And I got an email from him last week saying, oh, help, I've got papers everywhere. I'm just absolutely paralyzed. And so we talked about what the problem was. And he said, I just can't focus. He said, I sit down to do it, and it reminds me of something else to do, or I scan something and I need to go back and I forget. He said, I I just need somebody who would just sit here. So I said, well, he's kind of a difficult person to work with. You know, some people are easy and some people not so easy. He wasn't so easy. In fact, he always says, I don't like to talk with you. You're hard to talk to. Well, it's partly because I tell them the truth and people don't want to hear the truth. But I said, I have somebody on my team. So I said, I asked him first, I said, you know, if you just dumped all those papers, what would happen? I'd ask him, why do you want to organize the papers? I want to have a life. I said, okay, so what would that mean? What is the life? So we talked a little bit about what it was. And I said, so if you just dumped all the papers, would that prevent you from having a life? Do you have to organize these papers in order to have a life? He said, well, not really. So I said, okay, so one chance is just dump him and have a life. I mean, he's in his mid-60s, I guess. It's like you don't have to have the papers. I was sleeping overnight and I woke up in the morning, I thought, you know, I know he won't be able to do that, or it's unlikely. I called him and I said, you know, unless you have a very, very vivid, alive picture of what a life looks like you can see it, you can feel it, you can smell it, I think the chances of your being able to throw those papers away are pretty small. So I said, I have an idea. I said, one of the things is a paper is a $200,000 lawsuit. I said, what chances do you think you have of winning that lawsuit? He said, well, if I got my act together, I think it's pretty good. So I said, let's do an experiment. I said, I'll get one of my team members and you identify 1 hour a day you're willing to spend on papers every day for the next 10 days, 5 business days, 2 weeks. And then at the end of that time, we'll measure your progress and then you can decide whether it's worth continuing. So he did that and he called just at the end of the first day. He said, oh, this works. I'm so excited. So I think the lesson here is oftentimes having a partner, which is what this is all about, isn't it, Stephen David? It's just great. So
yeah, you need to make a sort of a deep dig and say, what's preventing you from being successful? What's preventing you from being happy? And if it's a few pieces of paper, let's sort of toss it. And sometimes you have a project that you've been working on, you're hoping it's going to come to completion, and your partner in that is really sort of just dragging their feet. Sometimes you got to just pull the plug on it. Say, hey, I'm getting ready to pull the plug. And then maybe that venture may move to the forefront and you'll have immediate success.
And Stephen, I just got to jump in for 1 second. My wife loves Barbara and they've never even met. So I actually bought Barbara's book. Thank you, Barbara. And that was a success. Remember a few calls ago, my garage got completely thrown out because I'm definitely a hoarder.
And we heard about it for like 2 weeks
but I didn't credit Barbara for it. So thank you, Barbara.
You're very welcome. My pleasure.
So guys, in the second hour, we discuss in Success is Contagious, we discuss the topic of the day. And I'm just going to throw that topic out here now so the people in the audience are aware of it and they can think of it if they want to ask questions about it. But also, so you're not going to answer this question now, but just so you're prepared. One of the great ways that people build their business and support their sphere of influence is by giving away freebies. And freebies may be a 15-minute phone call. It may be a chapter in a course. It may be a t-shirt or a paperweight or a valuable PDF or something along those lines. And I know that everyone here has something that they give away of value for free. When it's your turn to speak about that, when we get to that, have that in mind, and I'll ask that question again. That sort of can be a tough one, so I didn't want to just drop that on you in an hour from now. So Mandy, you are new to speaking here today. So you sort of see what this is about. We really want to know like a deep dive in what you consider success for yourself, or for your clients or for your family, so people can know a little bit about you and know you better. So what is it that you do, and what do you consider success? What is the win you've had this week?
Sure. Well, thank you so much for having me on here today. So that's a success. Just to start with, I'm grateful to see a lot of familiar faces on this call, and I'm always trying to get out and meet new people. So thank you here. I work for Graphic Solution. We are a local to Apex, North Carolina sign shop. We do signs, vehicle graphics, anything that you can imagine as far as advertising for your business. So we can do everything from a small lawn sign to, if some of you guys have been over to the Frontier, we've done the large numbers that are on this side of the Frontier building. We work with folks like the Durham Bulls. So really anybody who's looking for more visibility for their company. So my job with them, I've been with them about 2 months now, so still kind of new. My job with them is to get out and network and bring in new business, create meaningful relationships with folks like you guys, and then to nurture those relationships. So it's a lot of networking.
So what is your success been?
Yeah, so my success was actually, I'll say, in the last couple of days, because I am new. I had to rely on my network a whole lot in the beginning, and I still am for new sales. And so my very first week on the job, I had a great referral for a new restaurant in Durham, and we actually just put it up and got paid on it today. So we put it up last week. And so I was very grateful for that referral, and it's just the power of networking. It's phenomenal.
That's terrific. Thank you for sharing. Now, Sharon, Shannon, we're going to go over to you. I know you were introduced to Rockstar Connect by, I believe, Katia, and I heard a little bit of your interview with Sarah earlier this week. What I know you do some pretty exciting things, so if you could tell us a little bit about that, but more we want to hear about your successes this week.
Okay. Hi, Stephen, David. How are you?
I'm very
Sarah,
good.
hello. It was nice talking to you as well. And hi, panel. As I said, I feel like I know some of you, and I'm excited about being on the panel. I am a faith coach, yes, and I help emerging and aspiring business women, mostly faith-based, grow their business. Why faith? Because most of the time, these women are a little afraid. They might be in a career where they're not really fulfilled, and they don't want to step out. They need help building something that has always lived in their heart, and they never acted on it. So I help them create businesses from the ground up with different aspects of the business, even writing a business plan, or if they want to learn to do a podcast or a website. Now, I'm a web builder, but very little. I like to build them myself for only me. And just helping them with things of that nature if they want to speak. I also have a Women of Movement meetup group, and it's about 2,000 women. And every month I host different experts who come in, and they help aspiring women as well build their businesses. So I'm really excited about what I do and what we do for women who are maybe in their second act or just starting. So they could be emerging or veterans business owners.
What was your recent success this week personally? Was it showing up here today to talk on a panel? Is that something that you normally?
That was one. Okay. That was one, Stephen. That was one, as well as I walked a little farther today. I always walk for my peace of mind because we have to preserve our peace. So I'm always doing that in the morning with my four-legged baby. And we went a little farther today, and I'm excited about that. So it's fitness, it's peace of mind, it's wellness, and it's talking to the God and about my life and where to go and what to do. So it's how I preserve my peace.
I think another success that you can have is I can see, I'm watching all the speakers. You're sort of looking at me because I'm speaking to you, and they're nodding their head and they're agreeing. And this is what you find when you're in this type of networking. People are saying, who do I want to connect with? Who can I refer to this person? Is this person going to be my friend? Is it going to be a meaningful connection? It looks like some people are very interested in speaking with you later on in this panel.
Awesome.
I'd like to introduce from Florida. He's been actually a panelist briefly once before. Eric Stoller of Championship Mindset, which is a national live event company that does incredible business events with people like Les Brown and Brian Tracy and others. Eric, if you could briefly introduce yourself, but more, tell us about some of the successful things you're doing, because I know you're going back to live events, just like Rockstar Connect.
Yes. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Eric Stoller. I'm here in Miami, Florida. We've officially hit the hot zone. You walk outside and you're sweating immediately. So nice humidity. But anyway, I've been in the live seminar business for probably 25 plus years. I put on events all over the country under our brand Champion Mindset events. We've worked for many years. I worked with Brian Tracy. We've done events with him for 20 some odd years. And with Les Brown, I ran his speaking institute. So what we've been doing is, because of what's happened, we had to stop doing live events for a moment. So we've been doing virtual summits, and we did one in April, about to do one more at the end of July. And then we're going to start going back to live programs where we'll bring speakers out. In fact, we'll do one in South Florida. We'll do it at Hard Rock Stadium. We usually do one every year, a conference out there during, before a football game, actually a couple of days before a football game. And then what I'm actually putting together for this one, Steve, is I've been on the phone this morning with Larry Little, who played for the 72 Dolphins. He's a personal friend of mine. So I want to do a tribute to Coach Shula and the 72 Dolphins. So I'm on the phone with Larry, and he's actually great friends with Les Brown. They have a great story. They went to high school together. And he's like, well, I said, who can we get? He goes, we got to move quick. He says, so many of the guys are passing away year in and year out. So we're hoping to get Mercury Morris and Larry Zonka and Bob Greasy and all the greats of the 72, and then do a tribute to Coach Shula as part of this event. So we're doing it July 31st, 1st, and 2nd. I think we're charging big money for the tickets, Steve, for the 3 days. I think we're starting ticket prices at like $27, so we've it's interesting. You do it for free and it's free, but even it's a few dollars, people value their time that they invest. And we have Brian Tracy booked, and we have Coach Nick Bollettieri booked, and we have Les Brown booked. So we're calling it the Masters and Legends 2020. And that should be a lot of fun. There's opportunities for people to learn, to be on the program. And I know the last time we had some fun at the April 29th event.
That was a great event. We were happy to participate in that event. 72 Dolphins, they're like, for people that are from South Florida, Miami, whether you like sports or not, they are, gods and mythic figures to us. And whenever we lose one, it's a very sad time. But Larry Little's, just as a little connection there, Larry Little's sister was my guitar teacher.
Oh, no kidding. Well, look at that.
So the difference between the 1972 Dolphins and sports heroes of today, those guys, they did well. I mean, they made money, but they weren't like an attorney or a doctor. So they lived like in the apartment complexes where everyone lived, and in the neighborhoods where everyone lived. They ate at the same restaurants. It was a different time. But with Eric's next virtual event, Rockstar Connect is going to be participating in that event. The week after the event and the week before, we are going to be giving some speaker opportunities where you'll get in front of a few thousand people potentially with the promotion, and also be able to speak about your product. So if you'd like to know any more information about that and how you can be a panelist in that particular event, which is going to be amazing, just drop your information in the chat, and Sarah will connect you with the right people.
Stephen,
Yeah.
could I interrupt? I wanted to ask Eric something.
Yeah, please go
So
right ahead.
I am all about women in personal development, women earning what men should earn. This is what my work is about.
Sure.
I am requesting that all these events, which I see publicized with almost no women, it's all the good old boys, the same personal development good old boys. And I am happy to find you women speakers who are as good as, if not better than some of the men, and I've trained with all of them. It's time for women to also be listened to. We're tired of listening to only men. We want to hear some women too. So my request is that you split it up. You have as many women as you have men. And if you have problems finding really expert women, I can help you. Okay?
Well, that's great. You know, the other part of what our business does is, besides helping people, you know, get out on stage and work, and you're right, it is very male dominated. And I start looking and go, hang on a second, what's going on here? And so the other part of our business, at 3:00, we do a Zoom call with our members, and I teach people how to want to speak and tell their message. And I'd say 80% of the members are predominantly women who really want to get out there. They're going through a change in maybe it's they're looking to retire, their kids are out of the house. Some of them, some of them who really phenomenal. One woman, she has 3 autistic kids. She's a health and fitness person. So yes, Leslie, if you've got some great speakers, I'm always open to doing so. You know, it's partly about providing people with great value. And that's part of what we do at our programs, actually, is I take a lot of the people that we train and we coach with and put them on stage. In fact, Laura Mitchell was at our last event. She was sitting in our audience 2 years ago, and now she publishes books. She's getting speaking engagement feeds that are like, I mean, she told me she spoke at a prison and they gave her $25,000. I couldn't believe it. She told me at a TED Talk, they pay you $1,000 a minute, and she was booked for 12 minutes. But a lot of people, all that went away very quickly because of what's gone on. But, you know, the bottom line is
the biggest issue, Eric, is I studied with Proctor and Martinelli,
Sure.
and I had my biggest fights with them because they say that they will help the women, and primarily their audience is women, but all you see are the men and an occasional token woman. And so I would love to see you change that model and provide, you know, we have expertise too, lots of it. So I'll be glad.
Yeah, well,
I agree. And if I can interject, and I'm not going to say this is on Eric's defense because he needs no defense, but you know, I've worked with Eric's team, and he has people that connect with him that specifically look for fantastic women speakers to give them that opportunity, and they actually get first crack at a lot of the speaking opportunities at his events, which is very impressive because he knows, I mean, it's also dollars and cents too. The audience wants that. It's not because if there wasn't, you know, there's a demand for it. So he needs to fulfill that demand. Giving everybody an opportunity, and thanks guys for that nice crosstalk. It was very, you know, it makes it a little more exciting. Rhonda Sher, from California.
Nice haircut, by the way.
A little bit about yourself, and this is a dynamic woman speaker herself. Go right ahead, Rhonda.
Thanks. So I'm a LinkedIn expert, and what I like to say I do to help people is I get them out of LinkedIn witness protection so you can get found. And I have a system where I show you how to generate 2 to 10 appointments a week at minimum with your ideal clients and prospects. So I had 2 wins this week. My first one is I actually had the most amazing opportunity to speak to Barbara's partner, and I'm going to be a client. I am so impressed with Barbara's program. It's absolutely amazing. My husband is going to be so excited about how organized I'm going to be. Barbara, I'm over the top in terms of working with Andrea. And my other win, which is very cool. So I do a lot of guesting on podcasts, and I was a guest on a podcast with a woman named Gail Carson, and she has a network called SOB, Spunky Old Broads. And she invited me to have my own radio show. So I'm going to create, since I am a woman over 50, not much, but a woman over 50, I'm going to actually create my own SOB show for women entrepreneurs. So that was a huge win that they invited me to host my own show on their network. So I'm totally jazzed.
That's awesome. Congratulations. And, Teddy and Rhonda, they're both LinkedIn specialists. And those of you who have not gone to a LinkedIn specialist and because there's so many things in your business that you feel like you should be expected to do yourself. In reality, very little of it you should be doing yourself. You should be doing the core part of your business. That people like Teddy and Rhonda really can help you out. So when I started working with Rhonda 4 years ago, I had maybe 1,000 people, which I thought was pretty big on LinkedIn, but she helped me grow it to close to 10,000 connections today, but in a meaningful way where that when I do reach out to those people, it has impact. Thank you for joining us, Rhonda, and thank you for joining Teddy as well. And I wanted to bring that up, Teddy, because we didn't get too deep into your LinkedIn portion there. And I wanted to point out you're a LinkedIn expert as well. I'd like to welcome one of our great Rockstar Connect hosts here in North Carolina, Mark Roberts. A little bit about what you do and what has your success been this week. I'll tell you, one of your successes is we will have the date for your first new live event tomorrow.
Outstanding.
So
I don't need to talk.
That'll be the top success. But if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself and what your successes have been.
Absolutely. Thank you, David. I'm looking forward to that date. Mark Roberts from Key Concepts, our business coach. We try to get business owners out of the back office and back to what they love, much like some of the other folks do here. We've had a couple of great successes. I was able to talk to Barbara last week, and but my big success is I'm on the call today. David Loud, because I blew out a tire and wrecked a rim. So I am calling as I'm getting my tires replaced. So for me, that's the fantastic break that I have today. And it's great getting a little bit older because my tire blew up, put the spare on, get the tire fixed. It would be a lot more Boston activity, shall we say, when something like that normally happens to me. So it's nice to be a little bit more grounded and just say, the problem, we fix it, and move on. That's very quickly what we do, and I'm looking forward to being with you, David, as soon as we get that next date set.
Yeah, so we're getting really excited because, I'm going to go over to you, David, next. David is one of our hosts in Florida and a very impressive person, but it looks like Florida and North Carolina is really where we're going to be able to open up first. David is a host with us now for 3 years in South Florida. He hosts multiple events, and he does incredible things to help young people become financially right with the world. So, David, if you could tell us a little bit about yourself and some of the successes you've had this week.
Yeah, thank you, Stephen, and we're very excited to get back in person networking. Can't wait for that. A little bit about myself. I'm David Linsky. I'm the president of Debt Free Living. We're a financial planning firm. We actually focus our efforts on guiding individuals struggling with student loan debt, credit card debt, personal loans, mortgages. And we put together proper financial planning to guide those people to fully eliminating their debt, not consolidating, refinancing, or negotiating. My big success this week is a kind of a stretched out one. We helped a client, brand new client, met him for the first time actually after we got him set up. And we took his debt from 27 years, consisting of like 7 or 8 credit cards and a mortgage. We showed that person how to get out of all of their debt in 3.3 years. We already paid off one of his credit cards last week, and we just started 2 weeks ago. Using the same amount of money he was already spending on that debt before he met us, we just showed him how to do it more efficiently.
Excellent. And how would this help someone with like student loans?
It all works the exact same way. When we understand each dollar we have has, power to it. And when we don't think about what we're using that dollar for, a lot of it's going to interest, a lot of it's unnecessary costs and fees and all these different things. And we could recapture those same dollars we're already spending, but redirect them towards savings. Now we're growing that same dollar instead of watching interest leak out the back door. And instead of paying, our bill, we pay off that debt and save those payments. But going on that success a little bit further, it's going to work for someone when we go to meet him in person and he has 3 people waiting for us.
That's a big success there.
And he has his younger brother who, looks up to his older brother. And he said, my brother has told me all about this. And if he says do something, I do it. And now we're going to start working with his younger brother. So, makes us feel good. And it was a great success for him as well, I think.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing, David. I'm going to go over to Domenic. Domenic is also a host here in North Carolina, unlike David in Florida. And he's been hosting his event for over a year now. He's been really taking advantage of the virtual networking events that Rockstar Connect has been hosting. And he's going to be doing something pretty big this Thursday. It's a North Carolina event, but it's open up to the entire country. He's going to be moderating all of the hosts in North Carolina and all of their guests in a Success is Contagious structure. Can you share a little bit more about that, Domenic, what you do? And obviously this is going to be a big crowning success for you as far as networking.
Oh my gosh. So my name is Domenic Battistella. Thanks for having me here on Three-Martini Lunch again, Stephen. I am a business continuity specialist with New York Life Insurance Company. And I'm also, as you said, Rockstar Connect host. I host the RTP Business Networking event in Morrisville and RTP. And this Thursday night from 7 to 8, and I'm going to guess we're probably going to end up going later because there's going to be
late on that one.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of people there. But we have every single North Carolina event all coming together for one mega event, getting the opportunity to host. That is going to be that's going to be a lot of fun. There's going to be a lot of great people there. So if you're listening on the live stream, or if you're in the room here and you want to be part of that event, just go to rockstarconnect.com and register for the event. Make sure you get the Zoom link to be on there, and then you get to be on the panel with all of us. Also, we just went live, right, with the first live RTP business networking event. We're coming back July 1st. And we're going to be doing that in Cary, North Carolina. So I'm excited to get to see all of the people here locally in person finally. We'll have to figure out the whole handshaking thing or how we're going to greet each other, but it's going to be a great time. We're going to be at the Beer Garden in West Cary. And then as far as successes this week, I mean, those are two great successes. Being on Three-Martini Lunch is a great success, but the biggest success this week, this is a real life success. So as of Saturday night, Heather and I are officially engaged. We went to Lake Lure, and if you're not familiar with Lake Lure, that's where they filmed Dirty Dancing. So there's a lot of romance and stuff in the air up there, and they have this thing called the Flowering Bridge, and it's just this giant community garden that is based upon the book The Secret Garden, and that's where I proposed, and she said yes. It was a pretty incredible weekend.
I can't think of a better success than that. I saw a lot of the pictures. It did look extremely romantic and well done. And despite the fact that you mentioned that you were going to do it last week in front of thousands of people,
she didn't know.
That shows how busy she is and how she has her life and you have your life.
Well, so if you don't know about Heather, she is an engineer at the National Institute of Health and Environmental Sciences in RTP. So given what's going on with COVID and whatnot, she is the busiest person I know. And I feel like I've gone up in activity since all of this has gone on. But my God, that woman she's a workhorse. She's the smartest person I know, and she's just so full of love and compassion. I'm glad that she's my best friend and my partner.
Well, I'm glad that congratulations for both of you finding one another, because it sounds like a terrific match.
Yeah, thank you.
Ilene, go ahead.
I was just going to say, and I'm looking forward to this Thursday. It's going to be a blast.
And maybe you can introduce her to everyone.
Yeah, I'll get her on there.
Ilene, welcome. This is your first time being a panelist, but I know you've gone to many Three-Martini lunches. I think you've gone to almost all of them. I heard a little bit of your interview last week to be a panelist. tell us a little bit about yourself, but most importantly, tell us about what's success to you. What has been your success in the last week?
Okay, I am a professional recruiter with marketing and sales resources. So I focus on placement and recruitment of sales marketing professionals in the industrial space. However, I've been doing this for 10 years and I noticed people do not know how to put a resume together, and they do not know how to market themselves. They do not know how to prepare for interviews. So as I was doing this, I said, gee, there are secrets here now that I'm a recruiter that I wish I knew then that I know now, that I wanted to share with people. So I created the program Pounding Pavement 101, teaching people the inside secrets on how to grab a recruiter's attention, how for your resume to generate calls, how to prepare for an interview, and just how to navigate through this job hunting process. So a success of mine is I spoke at an event last year in Houston, and the event bought my books and handed them out to the participants, which was very nice of them. Someone had the books. Her friend asked her to attend the event. Out of the blue, I get an email, do I do private coaching? I said yes. And she was reading the books off to me. She was interviewing for her dream job. And she would have to relocate, but it was her dream job and she wanted this job, and we did interview preparation. I just got word last week that she got the job. So in the middle of a pandemic, someone landed her dream job. So that was a wonderful success of mine and for her.
Well, I think that you provide an excellent service. I mean, a lot of people are needing to write resumes right now. You know, I have not written a resume since 1984. That was the last time I had applied for a job.
I have to tell you, unfortunately, a lot of the resumes and a lot of people are being directed that they're using templates and they look like they're from 1984 and we're in 2020.
In 1984, they didn't even have Word. So I think I used WordStar, and Stephen Hand knows what that is. He's the only one on the whole panel that does. But I used that to do my resume, and Leslie knows what it was too. Yeah. So you can imagine.
And we printed them out in stacks, and you sent it to the printer, right?
Oh yeah, I used a printer and high quality, paper, and tried to keep it to one side. You had to
how about the MTST? Whoever used the MTST, magnetic tape selectric typewriter? Disgusting. It's 45 years old.
My father, when we were kids, he got for his law practice,
I did
one of those typewriters. And I think at that time it was like buying a car. And my mother said, well, that's like her other child, that typewriter. It was just such an expensive and amazing tool. But it's all about tools. I mean, we're using tools right now. We're on a Zoom platform holding a webinar, and then, we're sort of hacking it a little bit and broadcasting out this broadcast all over Facebook so many people can see it. And we're just sort of playing around with that tool a little bit. So as long as you keep on doing what you're doing, but use whatever tools and technology that's available to you, you're going to be successful. Diego Munoz, welcome back. I hope you're completely healed. I know you're getting a new car from your accidents, and that may be one of your successes. But tell us a little bit about yourself and what your successes have been this week.
I appreciate it, Stephen. It's great to see everybody. But I do have a little thing for Domenic, because he could have just taken the mic and dropped it, because he was done. That was awesome. I appreciate you mentioning, I'm all healed. The great news, the big win is I confirmed the car that I'm going to be getting in place of it. I have owned a brand new car before. This isn't quite that, but it's as close to it as you can get. So I'm super thrilled. It's got all the bells and whistles. And as I mentioned before the call started to most of you, most important part was I got my wife's approval on it. So everybody's happy. But big wins really for me right now are, I think that when I was last on the call, I mentioned that my activity has just gone through the roof. And while I'm really happy with the level of success that we're having and the amount of business that we're having, my big win is truly my team. the folks that I have working with me. Some of you may familiar with them. One in particular, Emma Lance, who's just stepped up in such a big way. She's just not afraid to learn, not afraid to call, just not afraid. And I'm just so grateful for somebody who has that type of work ethic and wants to learn and wants to be successful. Supporting my vision and my dream for us as a team is extraordinary. That's a huge win for me.
Congratulations. That's a fantastic win. And what you were talking about, with your wife with approval, all kidding aside, all good sales is approval based. Mm-hmm. And our clients right now are coming to us because they had purchases that they had planned on doing, that they want to know whether it's still wise for them to do it, or there's new purchases that they're making because they see an opportunity to expand their business and to learn more. So part of our role and part of our success is being those people to give approval to them so they can step out of their own way and do what they want to do. And that's one of our responsibilities as salespeople. And to a certain extent, every one of our panelists here is involved in sales in one form or fashion. Sales pro Clint Webb. What a segue there, right? If you can tell us a little bit about yourself and some recent successes, it would be greatly appreciated.
Sure. So my name is Clint Webb. As you can see from my background, there it is. I work with CoEco Office Systems. So we do, multifunctional printers, wide format printers, small managed IT jobs, managed print services, etc. So professional success this week. The podcast that I did last Thursday with Mike Manning and Trinity French aired this morning. So that was pretty awesome. So very excited about that. And I have another episode coming out on Thursday morning. And personal success, kids graduating high school this Saturday. So that's going to be an interesting experience. And more than likely, I'm going to be a hot mess. So I'll let you guys know about that next time.
That's really interesting because, one of the things people celebrate is when their kids, graduate preschool. And I think their biggest success there is you don't have to pay for preschool anymore.
Right.
All of a sudden you have anywhere between $500 to thousands of dollars per month that you can do for your things. Now, when they're graduating high school, there's no more free high school if your kids go to public school. Now you have a new expense coming on. So,
well, and this is an interesting experience for, all of the seniors, for anybody that has anybody graduating this year. Luckily in Orange County, they are allowing them to do an in-person graduation. It's like a diploma pickup with pictures. And then later on in the evening, they're doing a drive-in style where, kids can get together with their friends in their, outside of their cars and watch videos of seniors and all this other kind of stuff. So it's, and they had a parade Sunday where they got to decorate their cars and drive through the town with a police escort. So that was pretty crazy. But yeah, it's a big win.
Hey, I'll tell you, that's really impressive what they're doing. And because that's, just to try to do something to substitute, I don't know, like doing what we're doing, going on a webinar, that's not going to cut it for graduation. And it sounds like they're doing much more fun things than any of us did for our graduation. And maybe these are new traditions that will continue going on with parades and videos and everything else. And a lot of this is being directed by the students themselves. So us adults, we can't take the credit for that. These bright seniors are creative, and they're making lemonade plus out of lemons. Now I'm saving the best for last, Scott Rutter. Scott, we're going to talk a little bit about Rockstar Connect. If you notice, he has the Rockstar Connect banner there. Some people were asking, why do you have a Rockstar Connect banner, Scott?
Well, because I'm part of the Rockstar. First of all, hello, everyone. Scott Rutter, very blessed to be with everyone. So Rockstar Connect, I started hosting my own event about 1.5 years ago. And then you had offered me the National Director of Business Development position, which I'm very, very grateful and blessed to have. And let me just tell you what Rockstar's done for me. So I recently opened up my own insurance agency. So I'm an insurance broker by day. And my first month going live with that was in March, right? Which is when the pandemic hit. And if it wasn't for Rockstar and all the relationships that I had built, through Rockstar Connect, who knows where my business would have been. But it's because of all the relationships that I was able to build that, I jumped off like a rocket, and you would have never have thought that a pandemic hit us. So business has been thriving and surviving. And again, a lot of that's thanks to Rockstar Connect.
Well, it's very exciting, because we talk every day. So I get to see the impact of your networking for yourself and for your community around you. In fact, you bring a lot of the panelists to the Three-Martini lunch. You help us find hosts all around the country. One of the successes for Rockstar Connect is people are now reaching us. Our sales staff that had been furloughed has said, hey, we're ready to open up new markets. We're very excited. We have new people starting new events here in North Carolina and around the country. And those of you that are listening, you have the opportunity now in some major markets around the country to have your own consistent networking event. And it's not an easy thing to do a live event every single month and have people come to it. But what does Rockstar Connect do for hosts like you so that's possible, Scott?
Yeah, I mean, Rockstar Connect can help on so many levels. Take, for example, when I was in Texas for the whole month of February doing my training for the Goosehead Agency, you threw a pop-up event for me, and there was some 50 people that attended the event. Now, I don't know anybody really from Texas, right? Outside of now Goosehead headquarters. And I mean, it was just unbelievable. I mean, it's amazing that you were able to bring that many people to my live event. So I know our great new sponsor, Todd Swicegood with the referral book, I attended his event, which is Home Smart Realty. He hosted a small little event there, and there was about, I don't know, 6 to 8 people that showed up for it. But now, again, we're going to help him as he travels around the country and, help put a lot of people in front of him. So, I mean, that's just what Rockstar Connect does. And we can do that through pop-up events, which many people don't know about because we really don't talk about that, Stephen, although we've had high demand of that in the future or in the past. We also host live events, which a lot of the hosts, of course, are on the show now. Domenic, Mark, some of the best hosts that I know, of course. So live events, very happy. I actually have one of my live events. I think it's scheduled for June 30th. We also have the new Success is Contagious model, which we host at Chris Rogers' Sullivan Steakhouse, which, Chris, we definitely very much appreciate that. And we've had many hosted throughout the country. We have Florida, and I can't even tell you all the other states, Stephen, that we have on that. And then now we've got the Three-Martini, virtual panelist thing, which, we have high demand on that too. So.
Well, the pop-up, I'm glad you brought up the pop-up. It's really, really cool. And I can see Leslie going, what is this pop-up event? What is it like? Travel has become very dear, not so much in the cost. The cost is very inexpensive, but in our time, because you can jump on a Zoom call and you can be speaking with someone immediately, but there's just sometimes you have to go somewhere and you have to meet with someone in person. And that may mean you going to San Diego for a 1-hour meeting or maybe less, a 30-minute meeting. You paid for your airfare, you paid for your hotel. How can you make that more valuable for you to grow your network? We actually create a Rockstar Connect pop-up event for you at a venue in San Diego. We do all the marketing for it. We have lists that we work, and we get people to put them either in a morning type of event, workshop event, or evening event in front of you so that you gain more value from your travel, so that you're able to be like Johnny Appleseed and plant apple seeds all over the country so people can learn about how you can help them. And that's the pop-up event. And actually, I mean, it's really wild the way networking works. Rhonda Sher is partially responsible for that pop-up event because she had introduced us to some great people nationally that said, hey, I'm never in my own city. I don't want to have an event in my own city, but I travel. Can you hook us up? And she hooked us up with a couple of those people, and we started doing events for them. And we found that we had great success doing it. I mean, one of the difficult things with events, and we actually, you and I, Leslie, we had a conversation about this probably 6 years ago, is putting tuchuses in seats. Right? Do you remember that conversation?
I remember it very well. You were very helpful.
Yeah, we actually had the conversation at RDU at the airport. We had a conversation.
Oh, we were doing some sort of promo video for something that never happened.
For an event that didn't happen because they could not put butts in seats.
Exactly.
Well, that was, an inspirational talk for me. So all these talks that everyone has with one another, whether there's a dollar sign on that talk, they're of great value. First of all, for friendship and creating those relationships, but it will put dollar signs in your bank somewhere down the line when you're able to take those ideas and put them into motion. But make sure that you credit other people that have helped you have those ideas as well. It's very important. So I'm excited. We're coming up on the 3 o'clock hour. We have some new people joining us. I want to remind everyone that's with us now that's staying that our topic of discussion is freebies. How do you use freebies, and how should we use freebies in order to prospect, to reward existing clients, and develop new clients? It's going to be pretty broad because everyone's bringing something to the table here. But in the interim, I want to introduce our panelists that are coming in the second hour. We have Chris, are you there? We probably come back to Chris, but Katia, welcome. Katia, do you see your friend Sharon over there? Do you see Sharon?
Yes, I saw. Yes, definitely. Hi, Sharon.
Okay. So Katia introduced Sharon. Katia, so our topic this week, and I'm going to come back to you on the topic. I'll come back to you actually last since you're coming in late on that topic, is how to utilize freebies in a responsible way. So you're not giving away everything, but you're giving away enough to wet people's whistle, and you're giving them value too. Okay, and Noah, did you hear that? You just came on. I'll come back to you in a second, Noah.
Okay.
Your hair looks great. Terrific. Is it new style?
No, just this morning. What happened?
That's the way it is with my hair. Just the way it happens in the morning, and I go with it.
Yeah, and last thing, Stephen, too. I didn't get to share my success. So my two successes for the week is my baby princess, came home. She was in at the Outer Banks for a week with one of her best friends that lives in her neighborhood. So I missed her, and I got this cool microphone thanks to one of your past panelists, Greg McDaniel. So he hooked it up.
Yeah, Greg is great, and we got to get Greg from California back on. And hey, so a lot of you that are listening, you're hearing about us doing all these panelists, that we're doing a lot of travel around town, and we're meeting with a lot of people, and we're doing a lot of things. We are out there, but we are being very responsible. We're not shaking hands. We're not giving hugs. We're not giving kisses. Well, some of you are, but I'm not going to mention your names. But we are being responsible. But we feel it's very important. We are advocates of small businesses, and we are trying to help the small businesses in our area grow. And we have to do that through our leadership. And we can't just do that behind a Zoom camera. We really have to get out there and live our lives. And we're going to be careful, but we're not going to apologize for being human beings. Hey, Katia, a little bit about what you do and what your success has been this week.
I am a business coach, and I always say I speak 3 languages. I speak French, I speak English, and I speak the language of money. I help entrepreneurs to grow to multiple 6-figure while doing the things that they love. And one of my success this week was I signed on another client that I've been working on for 7 months. It's been 7 months, and I wanted to work with her really, really bad. And she's really driven, and she just signed on. So that's a huge success for me. It just shows then sometimes if we keep nurturing people and we keep being there for them and giving them, it's just, it just happened on their own time.
Yeah, I mean, it's fantastic how that works. Something may be put into motion years in advance, and some things you're not ready to do. You're not ready to provide it. There's a lot of people that want to work with Rockstar Connect, and we can't work with everyone at all times, even though they're very valuable people that will bring a lot. But it is an opportunity now because unfortunately, some of us have lost existing clients. Their businesses no longer exist, or they no longer need our services because they've morphed into something else. So reach out to those people that you may have wanted to work with in the past and see if they are now available to work with you mentally. And if they have, and they now have the time, it could be a really big opportunity. So Noah, what I was telling Katia is we do have a subject for the second hour. The subject is, how do we utilize freebies in order to grow our business? Could that be, are we doing a free event? Are we, giving out t-shirts? Are we giving a free consultation? How do we do that responsibly so that we're not giving away garbage, we're giving away value, but also not just giving away ourselves entirely and not valuing, what we sell. But we'll get back to you on that and give you time to think about it. Noah, tell everybody a little bit about yourself, and most importantly, what was your great success this week? I know what everybody's success is because I stalk you all on social media.
So what is mine, Stephen?
Well, I know one of your successes. Do you want me to share it, or do you want to share it? I don't want to take away your successes.
I have no clue what you're going to say, so I would love to hear what you have to say.
I mean, what was really cool is like Noah went out with her family to go for a walk in Cary, and it was just supposed to be a walk.
Oh,
and
right.
She ended up joining a protest.
Yeah. It was actually, if you believe in the setting up intentions, my daughter said, I wish we could join a protest. And as we say that, we see people walking with signs. So I said, let's follow them. And I try to teach my kids to walk their talk. If you say something, let's show up for it. And I melted in the sun, but we made it happen. So it's for a very important cause. So thank you for this reminder.
And you documented it and you shared it so other people can participate and see what's going on. Because that's, it's amazing with all the cameras we have and with all the conversation we have on social media, because we've been isolated, we don't know what's going on 3 blocks down from our house.
Yeah, and I have to say, my kids are really upset when I document things, but I told her I need to use this momentum to inspire other people. And I think the real success was the conversation that my daughter and I had before this whole event, because she shared with me a lot of her thoughts. And at least for me, where I come from is start from a conversation. Don't go for the big, sometimes we say, I can't change the world. No. Let's start with a conversation and then move on. So how about I will introduce myself. I am an executive coach and business leadership coach. I work with what I call social leaders who want to create a change, but sometimes they feel that they need to dare themselves to create a change. So I say I encourage people to create a change they care about. And many times it starts with a conversation and just paying attention to how your actions aligned with your emotions and your thoughts, which is what I call consciousness, how to be a conscious leader and human being. And I believe many times it starts with just taking those little steps, little actions, not big ones. How you speak with the people in the supermarket, even when you have the mask. Yesterday I was at Trader Joe's, everyone was smiling. You can still see that behind the masks. So we can pay attention to the little things to create a change. So definitely that's a success, and I will stick with that for now.
Something that you said that really sticks with me is people feel like if they're a failure if they don't change the entire world. You're really setting yourself up for failure. And it reminds me, when I was a small boy, my mother told me I was concerned about everything that was going on in the world. I was very well read. I read the news all the time. I was concerned about people in Asia, in Africa, in other states in the United States where people were being oppressed. And my mother said, you can't necessarily reach out and help someone on the other world, but if you help someone who's right in front of you, you can have tremendous impact. And I mean, I carried that through my life. That was really the start of, my networking and North Hills networking, and my career was helping and impacting people around you. And, now Rockstar Connect has grown all over the United States. And my wife, Sarah, who is very similar to me. I mean, as a child, I would say she was the same way, really concerned about those things. We can participate to impact people all over the United States. And that gives us, that's our big success for us and for all the people that are panelists here. Now, Chris, we got you back. Chris Rogers. Chris, tell us a little bit about what you do and what has been your success this week.
First and foremost, it is amazing to see all of you again. It has been a whirlwind of a day. I had an amazing conversation with my good friend Katia today. Had a lot of great conversations this week. Domenic, congratulations, sir, for you this week. Big ups. I'm proud of you. Jay, Scott, Steven, all of you guys. It's amazing to see you. So I'm Chris Rogers with Sullivan Steakhouse. I'm the regional sales and event coordinator. I basically take care of all the private dining, online catering, and everything for Sullivan Steakhouse of Charlotte and in Raleigh. My big success this week is now that we are starting to get back into the swing of things, the phones are off the hook. I'm booking parties left and right. And tomorrow night I have my first party back in the building, 37 guests, socially distanced with all the safety precautions taken. And it just feels good. It feels good to put a suit back on. It feels good to hang BEOs and make sure the guests are going to have the experience they deserve.
Well, we're excited because we're going to be doing a number of Success is Contagious events in downtown Raleigh at Sullivan Steakhouse, morning events that will get people motivated. It's sort of like going to the gym for success. And we're excited that you're participating. Looking forward to speaking with you more about that tomorrow. And so we're going to jump into and I just jumped up in my seat while I said jump. We're going to jump into our topic for this week. We've shared our successes and who we are. Now we're going to share a little bit of business wisdom. And this week we're going to talk about freebies. What are the free things that you do, not only to help your clients to get new clients, but also to let people know about yourself? This is a pretty broad topic. For me, as a business person, I felt having a consistent networking event for people in my community would be my free thing that I would do. I don't, print out T-shirts or anything along those lines, but I give them myself through my events. So we can start with that as a point of reference. Why don't we go over to Stephen Hand, who works with hundreds of businesses. It doesn't have to be something you do, Stephen. It could be something that one of your clients or members does as well.
Okay, well, that's pretty far reaching. We have a lot of members, and they are very creative, do a lot of things. But I wound up writing a book at some point and did pretty well on Amazon, which was great. And I took a lot of the concepts from that and I turned it into a once a week blog, which is 52 weeks of how to be effective at networking. And that's available for anybody, anytime. And if you kind of work through it as an exercise program, you have some pretty good results from that. We do an awful lot of training for free, both in person and online. Right now it's completely online, but and some of that comes from BNI corporate headquarters as well. Chapters, people can visit twice without a problem, and we like that. We get to know them. A lot of times they will find some business right there in that time. We always want people to be in profit before they join. It's not a guarantee, but it's what we try to do to have happen. And this Friday, I'm doing a speed networking event. We're going to be doing 2 of those in June, 4 in July, and totally free, available for people. And as I've got a guy coming from Hong Kong, I'll be talking to him on Friday morning, and then he's going to stick around with us for that. Got a guy coming from Ireland, trying to get my friend from Alberta, Canada to be there. And I'm talking to somebody tomorrow from England who will probably be there as well. So if we do that, we'll have 5 countries represented, and it's totally available for everybody. So
it sounds like a great international event. If you have the opportunity to drop the information in the chat, we'll make sure that gets distributed, and everyone here, I'm sure, would like to participate as well.
That'd be great. Good idea. I'll do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Diego, real estate agents are notorious for giving out like freebies, usually with their name on it. But what do you do?
Well, I've been thinking about that question and actually texting Emma, who I mentioned earlier. Commercial real estate guys, we would love to give away real estate, but obviously that's not really good for our business. And so I can't say that we actually have tangible things that we give away. One of the things that I have found very successful is I love to give away books to people who are genuinely interested in learning about commercial real estate for the purposes of wealth development or growing their wealth. I find that you're able to kind of differentiate who the real investors are versus those that are unsure. And I find value in both of them. Those that are really investors going to, involve themselves in the book, I can create a real deep connection. And those that aren't are ultimately the ones that are going to use my services anyway because they don't have time for the book. But I find books are a great freebie to give away to folks.
What would be a book that you would choose? What would be that book, or do you give out many different titles?
I've given out several. One book that I gave out for a long time, and it's kind of a pat of the back to the founder of KW, is Gary Keller's The One Thing. If you've never read that, it's a fantastic, and it's not about real estate. It's truly not about real estate. It's an easy read. There's a lot of really good stuff in it. Certainly The Go-Giver is, I think, one that we can all relate with, and many of you embody. So those are two books I really have enjoyed reading and passing on to others.
You give out a physical item, you actually physically give a book, and I appreciate that. I mean, I own bookstores for 15 years. Some of the people on this panel maybe even went to some of my stores. I know Stephen did, but you don't necessarily, and Sarah did, my wife, but you don't have to necessarily give a physical book to someone. You may not have that book with you, right? They're bulky, but it's always good to have a couple titles of books that you can recommend to people. And I always recommend my go-to books to give away to people. I said, they want to know, how do you do what you do? There's 3 books I recommend. One is Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People, which is a classic. You can read it over and over and over again. And it although it's a book from the 30s, it still rings absolutely true today. Zig Ziglar. Who's a Zig Ziglar fan here? If you don't know who Zig Ziglar was, no, you would love Zig Ziglar if you checked him out. He was a salesperson here from the South, and he was an expert in teaching how to close a deal and permission-based sales. So his book, Secrets on Closing the Sales, if you don't know, if we're saying how to close a deal and you don't know what I'm talking about, that means you need to read his book, 100%. And the other book, which I think is one of the best books for anyone who is introspective and wants to improve their performance, it's the book by Dr. David Burns, Feeling Good. And there's workbooks associated with it, and it's on cognitive therapy, and it's about how to be happy and take conscious exercises in your life to make that happen. Taking control of your own happiness. So those are the 3 books that I would give away free. When I had my bookstores, I used to keep them on the shelf, and I would actually give them out and hand them out free. But back to Stephen Hamm, one of the things that Stephen does is he gives content consistently. We talk about consistency a lot, consistency in events. Every week he shares a quote from a famous person or a business person that reflects the attitude, his personal beliefs, but also his business beliefs. And people read that and they reshare it. So he is giving of himself so people know about him and what he believes in, but he's also giving content, and content is king on social media, 100%. Clint Webb, you're a door knocking salesperson. What do you do?
Well, I try not to be. So that's what you guys are for. So when I was with Spectrum, I haven't done a lot of cold calling or sponsoring in my new role. But first, I want to say to Diego, all of the events for LinkedIn Local, you guys pass out water, and it always has the KW koozie on it, man. And those are much appreciated and much needed. So just shout out there. And I used to give away so much stuff, and it's all about making it. See, there it is. It's all about making it. I don't know, appealing for somebody. I mean, something that's useful every day. Like, I don't know if you guys know Liz Rosselli. Is that how you pronounce her last name? She's the one that gives away, that makes all the swag and stuff like that. And she has some really, really cool stuff and stuff that we used to use at Spectrum. You have a little lighter, LED light keychains, that are very important. The easy stuff like the koozies, the T-shirts, the hats. Anything that makes somebody feel like they won something. I mean, people like free stuff, Stephen. So including me. So I'm all about the free.
Well,
so I'll give away
I would
whatever.
go even further. You give, and I'm just going to give an observation. You give a lot of yourself, a lot of your time. If someone needs advice and needs to be connected to one another, being a connector, people don't necessarily, sometimes you get a check for making a connection. You do. Those are really nice when you do get a check like that. But frequently you're just going into your, I'm going to date myself, Rolodex. I don't have a Rolodex, but I have CRM, looking up numbers and passing those numbers out. And you could you're basically handing people gold at that point.
Mm-hmm.
You're very good at doing that. Sharon, Shannon.
Yes, Stephen.
Okay, so what so you're seeing that we're talking freebies. We're not necessarily talking physical things. It could be giving of yourself, meeting with one of those women's faith-based people. When you first meet with them, there has to be something that you give them, a token, so that they understand that you're on the same page with them, that you're on their team.
Right, yes. As I said before, some of these women are apprehensive because they are embarking on uncharted land. And although it's a gift that lives in their heart that they've always wanted to do, they pretty much don't know where to start. So when they book the consultation, part of that consultation gives them a free, downloadable, fillable business plan. And it's a template that they can fill out to get them started on their goals, what their business name is. And I tie it into the Small Business Association administration and what they're saying about typical average examples of business plans. So they are familiar with a resource that can lead them in the right direction as well. So that's just one of the things I do.
And what an excellent thing to give away, because, first of all, it's something usable that they probably cannot find themselves, but you're giving something that's directly connected to the Small Business Administration.
Yes.
You're creating a very valuable relationship for those women. And there are many programs that they probably have no idea even exist that you're able to connect them with. So if you could just drop your information, and maybe we have some clients out there listening for you right now that would love to see that fillable form.
I will put it in again. Sure.
Thank you, Sharon.
Thank you, Stephen.
Mandy. So you're in sales.
I am.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So what is your freebie? How do you prospect for clients?
Yeah, so as I mentioned before, a huge part of the reason why I got hired at Graphic Solution was because of my network. And so a lot of the times it's just paying for meals, paying for golf, paying for lunch, paying for whatever it is, and giving them a free experience. And so what that looks like is just me going to an office and buying the office breakfast or coffee and just spending an hour with them. Because the more time that I spent with my referral partners, the more they know, like, and trust me, and then they're more likely to refer me. So I find that if I put in the time and, buy them something, it could be something small but thoughtful, I would say that. And then the key is always to follow up with a thank you note. And that's how Scott and I met, was because I sent him a thank you note for going to LinkedIn Local. And he was like, oh my gosh, we have to meet. Thank you for sending me a thank you note. So I always find that that's key, is just putting in an extra time and sending a nice little thank you at the end.
Excellent. Some great tips. Please put your information in as well so people can reach out to you. Domenic, I know you give a lot of your time. Not so many pens, but a lot of your time. Can you explain a little bit about what you give away of yourself for free?
Oh my goodness. Well, it depends on the environment. So at my Rockstar Connect event, I always have door prizes. So somewhere near the middle of the second hour, I always have a handful of things that I give away. So I always make sure I give away a physical book because I think that's important. I want to encourage everybody to help better themselves, and one of the ways they can do that is by reading, but also being at the events is a way to better yourself. I also invite some of my partners, my partner in my event will give away some shirts with Rockstar logo or the logo of our particular event. I'll bring some New York Life swag. I'll bring some branded material from 1 Million Cups, which is another organization that I'm involved with to promote entrepreneurship in the area. But I'm actually, when I deal with clients and I deal with prospects, because of the industry that I'm in, there are certain rules and regulations that I can't give away specific items of, dollar values, that sort of thing. I can't even really, give much more than a Starbucks gift card of $5, something like that. But what I can do and what I do is time. My services, when I sit down and I consult with a new client, that doesn't cost my client anything. I don't charge by the hour. It's just once we present the strategies that we think that will help the business achieve their goals, then and only then, if the business chooses to proceed from there, then there may be something that's that's a transaction. But prior to that point, anything that I give as far as advice or consultation, that's completely free of charge. So the kinds of things that I give, I think I give a ton of value up front when I'm working with clients and potential clients, with the idea that the client is going to find that valuable and is going to proceed with some of the recommendations that we make.
Yeah, I mean, it is all about time. And a lot of professionals, they fail to do that. And it used to be a financial service advisor would literally be at your kitchen table giving their time. I mean, they were really giving their time. It just wasn't symbolism. That could be time you could be with your own family, and you would come after work hours and spend time with a potential client with no guarantee that there's ever going to be a sale made.
Right, exactly. And I think that's one of the things that you kind of miss nowadays in some of this virtual or online environment where people are doing their own shopping. You see like ladder.com or some of the other life insurance, or Scott will tell you from the property and casualty side, people just go online and shop, but there's nobody there to guide them through the process. So how much life insurance do you really need? What are you trying to actually achieve by doing this? How much do you need to actually save for your retirement? What's that? What are specific strategies to help you get through your retirement without running out of money? What kind of business planning do you actually need? How much liability protection do you need on your auto or your homeowner's policy? Or is somebody on the other line just giving you a basic bottom dollar quote just to get your business, but they're leaving you completely unprotected? That's why you have to have that personal touch. I mean, I said earlier in the chat, I'm an insurance professional and I use Scott Rutter as my personal home and auto insurance agent because he can walk me through the entire process. And when there is a problem with a carrier or something else goes wrong, he's going to be there to provide the service and the value that you can't get online. So I think it's really important to understand that some of the old ways of doing business, sitting down at the kitchen table or sitting across the desk from somebody and having those personal conversations and the consultation, that time is the value proposition that is missing working virtually or just working with a website.
Right. And it's, to give you an example, I think that there was a certain point that us small businesses, we were trying to learn from the big businesses, because you'd go to a website of a big business and you couldn't speak to anyone. You couldn't call anyone. There was no 1-800 number. We said, wow, wouldn't that be a great way to do business? And it wasn't a great way to do business. We had clients that were very dissatisfied. It was like a revolving door. They didn't understand what they purchased. There was a lot of anger. And now the big businesses, you can actually go to their website and speak with people. They have very highly trained customer service people at places like Dell and Google. I mean, is doing fantastic at this with their small business services. Facebook, not so much. But Google doing a great job providing customer service. And now as small business people are going like, boy, we really lost our way. We have to go back to that. And I'm going to leave that out there. We're still going around and talking about freebies, but after that, if we have some time, if anyone wants to reflect on what I just said, I think Stephen probably definitely would, and a few others as well. Like Chris's business, for example, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, well, not 40, let's say after the bank collapse in the 80s and 87, when we had the stock market collapse, steakhouses were out. You know, you couldn't take someone out to lunch anymore. It looked bad. And then, you know, in the late 90s, it started coming back. You know, everything old is new again, and it's a great place to do business. But I'll let you talk about a little bit about that, and also, you know, what type of freebies do you use to promote your business, whether that be relationship-wise or actual physical things?
Oh, well, this actually might come as a surprise to you, but some of the freebies, especially when it comes to prospecting and bringing people in the restaurant, are cheesesteak egg rolls. I don't know anybody in the world who has turned down a cheesesteak egg roll from Sullivan's Steakhouse. Yeah, that's generally the you know, foot in the door right there. I mean, again, food can cure anybody in my mind. So as far as like once they become a client and I'm working on parties and things with them, I mean, offering my commitment and my time. At the end of the day, I want to make sure that they know I'm going to call them back on every single question they have. I want to make sure that they know that their party is going to go off without a hitch. Make sure that they feel, you know, welcome, cared for, and they get blown away by experience. I mean, their expectations get shattered.
Well, I'll tell you, I had a customer relation experience at Sullivan's before you were there that was just like over the top, incredible service. So we were there during the worst time to go to any restaurant in the Triangle Restaurant Week. That's when every restaurant in the Triangle is stretched to their utter maximum. You have new clients coming in that don't understand necessarily the culture of the restaurant, the service, etc. And we had a less than perfect situation. And I did what you're supposed to do, what everyone should do. I asked to speak with the general manager. The general manager not only comped our meals, he packed us up meals to take home, bought us all dessert, and then invited us to stay at the bar for the rest of the night as his guest. Well, gosh, do you think they got some raving fans from some people that weren't having such a great experience? And that's what, you know, when you go to a Sullivan Steakhouse or another high quality restaurant like that, there is a price involved for that, but your return on investment is extremely high. And that's why I support Chris and his business. And we really do appreciate how he supports Rockstar Connect.
Well, I greatly appreciate it too. And one thing I will say is that you mentioned the word raving fans. I will have to tell you that is one of my favorite books I've ever read. That and The 1 Minute Manager, since I didn't put it in the group chat there. 1 Minute Manager is a great one, and Raving Fans is another amazing one. So I appreciate all you guys' support as well.
Well, for our hosts, our Rockstar Connect hosts, the attendees are their raving fans. They become their brand evangelists by providing a consistent event where people can come and create business. The business isn't necessarily passed at the event itself. It occurs when you have, 20, 30, 40, 100 people come to your event that are grateful for you providing something without expecting something in return. And they go out there and they telegraph that for you. Chris, you're a phenomenal raving fan, for example. Let's go to Scott Rutter, Rockstar Connect host extraordinaire, director of business development for Rockstar Connect. What do you do? Is it you giving of yourself? I think that's the way you tend to do it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think you just said it best. You make it about the person in front of you. So again, one of my favorite things to say is it's important to become interested before you become interesting. So everything I do with intentionality, and I try and create the most memorable experience possible. So if you treat people by the golden rule and, people taking care of people. But in terms of my actual business, much like what Domenic said, is I give a free insurance consultation. So what I call it is going a mile wide, mile deep, having a real holistic conversation and having that deeper conversation to uncover, needs, to educate your clients about the policies, because a lot of people just don't do it. But again, it goes back to just truly caring about people. And the thing that I guess I'm most excited about, which I'm going to start next month, is when I started the insurance agency, I wanted to be a purpose-driven insurance agency. So what I'm going to start doing is investing in the community next month. With every policy that I personally write within the agency, I'm going to give money back to whatever organization that it is, the charity event here locally that I'm going to partner with and do something good for our state, for our community. So
excellent. I was reading I wanted to talk to you about this. I was reading in my brokerage Fathom inside of their internal page, and they were talking about how you can partner with your insurance agent as a real estate agent, and they brought up the Clue report. How that you can go to your insurance agent when you're making an offer on a home for your client, or when you're trying to find out information for your seller about what might have happened with that house that's going to impact the cost of insurance. Is that something that you're familiar with or something that you do?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I can definitely run free Clue reports for any of my referral partners, as well as flood zone determinations as well. So anything anybody needs, I'm going to do my damnedest to help them to the nth degree.
There's someone I had referred to Scott who ended up not using them. Well, shame on that. Shame using him, but shame on them. But just kidding. No,
at least they had a wow experience. So, and I appreciate the at the end of the day, that's what it's all about, is just providing the opportunity. And I was grateful for that.
You did some research for me that was very important for my client in making a decision to purchase that home. And people don't understand how important it is, to see what your partners can do for you. With Domenic, or a financial advisor, I have clients now that are going into their 401k and taking out money to buy houses. And they asked me, is that a good idea? And I said, well, I don't know what your finances are. I'm not a financial advisor. Let me, speak with your own financial advisor. And if you don't have one, let me make an introduction for you. Thank you, Scott. Noah, so I let you go near the end because you came in at 3:00 and I wanted you to be able to think about this. And I'm sure you have, what do you bring to the table as far as how do you deal with freebies or people wanting freebies, or what's the value of freebies? Take it any way you'd like to go.
So I will talk about what I do, and also maybe a suggestion of what not to do, because sometimes we fall into the trap of the freebies. So what I do is, first, I decided that as a coach, rather than volunteering my time in other ways, I will volunteer my time as a coach. And part of what I do is coach people from the UN around the world that feel very isolated. So that's part of my passion, to volunteer my time. Some of it is also for executive directors here locally in our community in North Carolina. And one of the things that happened being the president of the coaching chapter a few years ago is that a lot of people connected with a lot of coaches, and I would give my time to sit and support and help. But it got into a point as connectors, you probably all know that. And if the people who listen to us right now with us aim or in that space of connection, there is limit to how much time you can give. And also to sometimes how much information you can give when you sit with people who want to or aspire to be as you. And that's when I shifted, like many here, from one to many. And I created the Walking Mastermind that allow people to meet outside. Right now it's virtually, but it really allows me to meet with people. It's free, connect them, and support them from the way I like to create networking and connections with other people. And so it's some of my need, and that's okay. But it's also allow other people to get what they need through the support and the systems that I like to create. So I think that was a big learning for me, that when I sit with people and they ask me questions, there is a place of maybe to say, if you want more, that will require working with me. So because I found myself just sitting there and giving the whole information for free. So how to learn to navigate and balance what it is that you give for free, and when is the time to say to the other person, it's okay, if you want to keep the conversation, we can keep it afterwards. So I'm sharing that because that was a struggle. And by the way, how I was challenged to change my ways, it was through a mastermind that I created, follow the book, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. So Stephen, I'm not sure if you are aware, but while you are talking about the books, we start sharing a lot of different books in the chat area. So one of the books I shared is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, and it talks about mastermind, how you can have just like this conversations with people that challenge and help you. And I created that for myself with another friend of mine, and that group challenged me to stop giving all the information for free. So I'm sharing that because I like to share those messy places when we create business and when we go through that. And of course, coffee. I'm a coffee lover. So if I feel like it and you're with me there, I will buy you a cup of good coffee in a good coffee shop. I always like to support local coffee shops. So that's my preference. Nothing wrong about Starbucks, but my preference is to always support a good local coffee shop.
Excellent. And, we're talking about time constraints, and one-on-one. So like Stephen Hand is a master in teaching people how to do one-on-ones because it's part of his program. It's part of the success of his program. If you are a very big connector and you have a lot of connections and you're making a lot of connections, it can be very complex. It's hard for me to make time to do a one-on-one, especially if it's physically in person. I can do a lot more on a phone call, but I also make it sure that the person I'm going to speak with, they know the purpose of the call. If it's a casual, because Noah and I, we do business with one another, but we're also friends with one another. So if we're going to have a conversation where it's a friendly conversation, we're talking about, things that we don't sell, we don't necessarily need an appointment for that. You can just call and say, hey, can you jump on a call? But whenever it relates to something oriented to business, even though there may not be money changing hands, we treat that dead serious. And we do look on each other's calendars. We say what the purpose of the call is, how long the call is going to be. And that's the way you should set up your calls when you're doing one-on-ones. And if you're a person who has been rebuffed from a phone call, from me or from anyone else, recognize the fact that some people's calendars book months in advance for phone calls. They may have some discretionary time that they can make available to you, but even that's limited. And of course, we all have families and friends, and we have a life. So keep that in mind when you're making one-on-ones. And I think after we go to Katia and Katia gives her freebies, if we have a little bit of time, if you could share your philosophy on how to do one-on-one successfully. Katia, go ahead.
Well, I actually think what you just talked about is I would love to piggyback on that. So I am actually someone who don't meet with other people. And I am very well known for that. And people don't like it. And when I ask them, I say, why do you want to meet with me? And they're like, oh, just to see if we're fit. I have questions for you. I'm like, okay, I'm ready to answer. There's nothing who's going to put me like 30 minutes in a coffee shop, plus the time to go there, plus the time to come back. Those are conversations that we can do virtual. And a lot of time, it's just, for people to, like you said, they don't have an agenda, but yet they have a hidden agenda. And I like to know exactly what is the purpose of the call. And when on LinkedIn, I get some, hey, let's get on the phone. I was like, what is your agenda for the call? And people have literally 3/4 of the time, they don't answer. The other thing that I want to talk about is when we make freebies, for me, I give so much. I give my time on lives. I give them answers. But the freebie for them to download, they're rich. And I put a lot of time into it. I really put a lot of research, time. And when it's at event, I give them everything. It's not a product. It's really, because the point is, at the end of the day, they need someone to implement it. No matter, there's no secrets. There's, I always love when I hear like there's a secret, and there's no secrets. There's absolutely none. I can give it to you all right now, and it still would be very hard for you to implement. Why? Because you didn't take all the notes, or you missed one part, or you don't have the right order, or you don't have the person who's going to motivate you every day to do it. And then when I'm on stage or when I speak, I make it very clear who it is for. Those freebies are for those of you who want to get leads right now or want to build a talk. But then for those who are really driven and really want to push more, so already that is eliminating half of them to get to that phone call. And then I tell them, I say, you're more than welcome to get to the clarity to path call, clarity to cash call, where I will help you to implement this. And I will give you some tips. And it's a 30-minute, no more than that. But I mean, it's very clear from the beginning, the time that I give and who wants them. Because when they hear, if you're really driven and you want more, then I eliminate 3/4 of the people. That's why I really don't waste my time on phone calls.
Excellent. And I just want to comment on something that you said, and I had to learn this. I mean, I knew I did it. I always share my secrets. I tell people exactly how I do something in extreme detail. Anybody who's ever had a conversation with me knows I'm an open book. I will share everything. But giving away all of that for free just indicates to those people, wow. For example, Rockstar Connect started because my wife and I, we created a course that told everybody all of the secrets of everything that was necessary to do a successful networking event. And the people that took that course, none of them were able to implement it. They became our first clients when we became a do-it-for-you service.
That's right. And they looked at you as the expert and as an amazing person for giving them so much.
Well, they thanked us because they couldn't really see from the outside how we were doing it. Yeah. And they felt wanting as professionals that they weren't doing it. When they saw what we actually did, they said, well, of course, we couldn't do that. We need your assistance to bring us to, the 5-yard line so that we could get into the end zone. But the follow-up is the most difficult thing in networking. And, handling phone calls, booking your calendar appropriately. I mean, I'm sure you experience this too, Sharon, Diego, Mandy. But Stephen, is an expert on the one-on-one, keeping a calendar. If you could just, give us, share like 5 minutes of secrets, give us some freebies right now. I think we can all utilize it in the audience as well as panelists.
Sure, I appreciate that. I thank you for the chance to do that. So I made a couple notes on that so I would not miss anything. But there's a couple of types of one-to-ones I'll do. Sometimes it's a phone call. So the way I set my phone calls up is I've got about 10 slots every week that are available, 25-minute calls. And the staff can do that. I don't have to do that. They know the times. Now, if there's a time for, say, Wednesday, and nobody's taken one of those times by tomorrow morning, it's repurposed. They can't give that one away because I just grab it and consume it at that point. But I do keep about 10 out, about 2 weeks out for people to pick ones. If I'm going to meet in person, though, I really want to be very specific. Here's the day, here's the time, and here's the place. Now, a lot of times I'd be able to pick a place and I can be there for 3 one-to-ones in a row, meeting with 3 different people. Sometimes I've got a one-to-one set that it's drive time. So I give myself time to get on the highway. And I'd say, this is the type of one-to-one we're doing. I won't be able to take notes. Will you please do that? Because I'm driving. So those are some of the things that I do. Now that I'm locked down or quarantined, I can probably get a little more flexible about that and have my times a little more set, but I haven't done that yet. But when we do meet, just like Katia just talked about, the first question I ask is, what's your objective? Now, again, she knows that before she meets. Sometimes I do, but sometimes, it's a part of the process with BNI. They're just getting started. I'll definitely meet with them. So, but that's my first question. What is your objective? Why are we meeting? What's it all about? And then on my first one-to-one, it's really getting to know the basics of their business. Why did they get into business? And what makes them unique? What makes you unique as a realtor? What do you do that other realtors don't do? How can I can't refer you if I don't have that answer for that question. So that's really our first session is about that. After my one-to-one, I always send you, Mandy mentioned, a handwritten thank you card. I think that's pretty important, even though my handwriting is atrocious. Year after year, it comes up on one of my things to get better at, and it's never happened yet. But I do send a handwritten thank you card, pretty important as well. If we do follow-on one-to-ones, and those are scheduled now, I know the objectives, I know we're going to do, and it's really about strategic conversation then. How can I connect you and introduce you to somebody that's going to further your business? And that's what we look for. And a lot of times I find one-on-one is much more than two at that point. So that's my second aspect of it. And then we'll keep going on the strategic side as well. Now, once I make a referral to somebody, I've got an appointment in my calendar every week, 9 o'clock on Friday morning, to follow up on that referral. It's a blank one, but if I introduce Katia to Sharon, let's say, then I'd get their contact information, a little log of what was happening there, and then come Friday morning, I'd be calling Katia, how'd it go? Did it work out? Because not everything works out, but if I follow up, I learn more about the two people I'm connecting and about the process as well. So if I was introducing somebody today, I apologize. If I was introducing somebody today, then what I would probably do is drop it into next Friday. I don't take it off the calendar. 9 o'clock Friday is just an arbitrary time, but it stays on my calendar moving until I actually follow up with somebody. So that's kind of it. It's a very powerful process and works very well.
That's a really good freebie that you just gave all of us right here. If I could have my team, if it's okay with you, we can excise this, portion of the panel and share it with everyone out there in Rockstar Connect land, so that they can do that. Because that's the biggest challenge, is doing one-on-ones. And when I used to do more physical one-on-ones, I used one of your techniques. I literally would find one of the venues where I would do events, because I want to reward them, spend my money where, who's helping me out. And I'd get there first thing in the morning, sometimes before they opened up even to serve food. And I would sit there all day until, 8 o'clock at night, have all 3 meals there, and meet with some people one-on-one and some people, 4 with one. And it was just a very effective way to achieve that. I want to congratulate all the panelists, not just the panelists that were on today, but the panelists that have been on for the last several months, because we've had a very, I would say, a unique experience here where everyone has something to bring to the table. They have deep knowledge. They're successful connectors and business people, and they are so respectful of one another. You're following the structure, you're listening to other people, you're commenting and building on what they're saying. I'm not always looking at the chat, but I can see the great pieces of information that you're putting into the chat for the people that are participating in the event. I also want to thank the panelists that have supported this endeavor financially as well. That's been fantastic, because it's so important that we keep these channels of communication open for networking. Because, today when I'm having my team meeting and we're talking about, we just spoke with this venue and we're going to have an event, a physical event, that felt like an impossibility like a month and a half ago, 2 months ago. We were really like, is Rockstar Connect going to be virtual from now on? But because of our panelists and because of our audience and because of the attendees of Rockstar Connect, the hundreds of thousands of people that have gone to Rockstar Connect events around the United States, Rockstar Connect will be there so that Sarah and I can continue our mission of making the world a better place through meaningful connections. As we are always looking for new panelists, if you're interested, you can go to our website and put a request in for an interview. If you'd like to also support this endeavor, you can make a contribution on our website, and also Sarah will drop a link in. We're going to keep the virtual lounge, the HIO virtual lounge, open for another hour if any of our panelists would like to jump in to speak directly with the attendees. And I want to say thank you to once again, thank you to everyone that participates. And let's put into play some of these things. So we talked today about our successes, but we also spoke about freebies. And I guess using the word freebies sort of cheapens it after listening to everyone, because all those things that we're giving away, they either cost us money to purchase it, so they have value, or it's something that we've learned that has value that we're sharing. So the people that are consuming these freebies recognize that although you're not paying for them, the people that are giving you these tremendous tools have invested more than you will ever know. They've invested their whole life experience in it. And so I'm going to be we're going to be closing out the event for today. But I'd like everyone to do, unless anyone has a last word. Does anyone have a last word?
Even just a quick comment as a freebie for those of you who are signing off, either panelists or attendees. If you don't know how to save chat, let me teach you how to do that, because there have been so many great links in the chat window that if you're not saving them, you're missing out on a ton of great information. So if you open up your chat box and right where you would type a message to anyone, you've got 3 little dots. Just click on that and it says save chat. That'll save it to a folder. And now you can go find those links anytime you want.
Yes, and if anybody wants to watch this again and get some of that great information, they can go to the YouTube site. It is posted in every one of our Facebook groups. We distribute it so that as many people can participate as possible. So if everyone can just raise their hand and wave goodbye, thank you. I'd like to see everyone Thursday at the North Carolina event that's open to the whole country. Domenic is going to be moderating that after I introduce him. It's going to be a great event. Go to Rockstar Connect. You can find out about it. But in the meantime, we'll see you next week at Three-Martini lunch, 2:00.
Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
See y'all Thursday.
Thank you so much.
To everybody. Thank you, Stephen.